Let me just go live on Facebook and YouTube. Hi, Instagram. Happy Friday. Just going to wait for you guys to tune in. How's everyone doing? Say hi in the comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first time, definitely let me know so I can give you a shout out. If you have any friends or family members that are in the immigration process and might need assistance, definitely share this live video. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, you can share this video on your Facebook so others can tune in. Texas Zaddy, good morning from Texas. Thank you for tuning in. Personally, I am here in Orlando, Florida. I'm in the suburbs of Orlando. It's called Lake Mary. And for those of you who don't know me or you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Ayesha Chidole. I'm an immigration attorney. I represent immigration clients all over the world, all over the United States with your family immigration matters. So if you have a family immigration case, your location doesn't matter if you are eligible to petition for immigration within the United States. Okay. And my phone number here is 407-995-6567. Let me put it on the ticker here on YouTube and Facebook. For those of you on Instagram, it doesn't let me put that, I think, in the live, but it is in my profile, so you can save it. Okay. First time. Hi, Harrington. This is your first time from Alabama. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Shauna from New York. How's everybody doing? Okay, so today I want to talk about, you guys just jumped right into it, with the questions. Today I want to talk about what your options are if you are married to a U.S. citizen, or a green card holder, and they're not willing to file for you. So, I talk about this a lot just because, I'm an advocate for victims of domestic violence, women and men alike, and parents and children alike. And that is something that I'm very passionate about. So that's why I love to talk about it. The normal routes that most people go through when they're married is that their spouse files for them, but there are also times when your spouse is cruel, your spouse is abusive, or your spouse commits battery against you and they're not willing to file for you. So, what do you do then? So I am going to talk about VAWA, what VAWA means, what qualifies you for VAWA. So, if you're married to a U.S. citizen or you're married to a green card holder, if you meet some of the eligibilities I'm about to go through, you could qualify to petition for VAWA, okay? If you are a child of a U.S. citizen or a child of a green card holder, child or stepchild, you can be eligible for VAWA. If you're under 21, or if you're between 21, but before you turn 25, if the reason why you never submitted your petition is because of the abuse of that parent. If you are a parent and you have a 21-year-old or older U.S. citizen child, so green card holder child will not qualify you. But if you have a U.S. citizen child, you could qualify. Now, for all those qualifications, how you entered into the United States is irrelevant. What I mean by that is that even if you enter the U.S. without inspection, meaning you didn't come to the U.S. with a visa, or you came to the U.S. with a C-1 visa or a crewman visa and you never left, you can qualify if you meet these criteria, okay? And again, guys, if this is your first time, I'm okay with you asking questions. Just put your questions in the comment box. Once, I have breaks between my conversation, I will try to tackle as many of your questions as I can with the time that I have. So as I was saying, what they're looking for is extreme cruelty and abuse towards you as a victim. Now, a lot of people think that abuse is physical. Okay, well, my spouse is really horrible to me. I'm going through depression. I have lost a lot of weight. I had to go to the doctor for anxiety attack, but my spouse has never physically hit me, you know? So abuse does not have to be physical. There are many things that will be considered abuse from an emotional standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from a verbal standpoint, from a sexual standpoint. And when I say sexual, it's not necessarily just rape, right? If your spouse, is putting you at risk of an STD because you're sleeping around with all this men or sleeping around with all this women, that is putting you at risk, right, of a sexually transmitted disease. If your spouse is intentionally withholding either family planning from you, or you just found out that maybe your spouse was not using protection or they were using protection, basically, if you're not on the same page on the intimacy level, that is a form of sexual abuse. Okay. Emotional, there are many things, when your spouse tries to mentally make you feel like you're less than, or they are better than you, or they're better than your culture. They make fun of your language. They make fun of your accent. They make fun of where you're from. They make fun of the food you eat. They destroy your stuff, those are all things that go to the emotion. Again, there's no way that I can list exhaustively what all the things are, but I'm just giving you guys ideas of some of the things that will entitle you to seek, advice on whether you qualify for VAWA. And then you go into psychological abuse. A lot of spouses are very manipulative. And what I mean by that is you'll have a spouse that'll say, if you don't stay with me or if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself. That is a heavy burden to put on somebody. When you feel that your spouse, even let's say you want to leave your spouse, but your spouse is so volatile, or your spouse cuts themselves, you're like, oh my gosh, if I leave this person, what's going to happen to me? What are they going to do? Are they going to kill me? Or your spouse tells you, I will kill you and I will kill myself. Or your spouse treats you horrible at home, and then when they go out, they pretend your relationship is wonderful. And you're like, who is this? Is this Mr. Jackal? Is this Mrs. Hyde? What is happening? Or your spouse threatens to call the cops, or threatens to call ICE, or calls the cops even and files a false claim on you, because we see that happening sometimes where, you will have a spouse that's willing to go to that depth where they will frame their spouses, and they will say, they're going to believe me over you because i.e. I'm a woman, or i.e. I'm an American. My Instagram keeps disappearing. Can you guys see me on Instagram? Let me move closer to the screen. So that happens, that happens. And those are all forms of psychological abuse, and then there's also control. A lot of spouses are controlling, where you can't even shop. You can't go to the grocery store without providing them a receipt, because they need to see what it is that you're spending. Some people, they will seize your phone, like, just seize your phone and say you're on your phone too much, or you have to basically give them your phone every day, so they can go through it and see who's on there. So these are all different examples of abuse that can potentially qualify you to self-petition by yourself. When you self-petition by yourself, what you get when you're approved is a 10-year green card. So it doesn't matter how long you've been married. So even if you were married for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, when you filed for a VAWA petition, if you're approved, you will get a 10-year green card. Okay. The other requirements is that you have to show cohabitation. You must show cohabitation. So if you have never lived with your abuser, you've never lived together, you will not be able to qualify for VAWA. You have to show cohabitation. I know sometimes people ask me, is there a timeline, or how long do I have to have lived with the person? So granted, there's no requirements. They don't have a specific, okay, you must have lived together for 2 months. You must have lived together for 10 months. They don't have a requirement, as long as you can show that you actually did live together at some point, even if when you file, you're no longer living together. Okay. The other requirement is that you don't have to be divorced, or even if you're divorced, you can still qualify. People ask me all the time, my spouse is threatening to divorce me. What should I do? Should I sign the papers? Like I always say, I can't tell you whether to stay with your spouse or not, but I can tell you that if you do divorce them, it has no bearing on your case. As long as you submit your petition within 2 years of that divorce. If you submit your petition at year 3 of your divorce after you've been divorced, you won't qualify. The other requirement is that you cannot remarry if you get a divorce until they make a decision on your case. If you remarry, you're essentially saying that you've abandoned your case. So they're not saying you can't date other people or live your life because you're not with the other person, but you just cannot remarry, or else, it will affect your approval. The other requirement is that you have to show you're a person of good moral character. So showing you're a person of good moral character a lot of times requires us sending police reports or FBI reports, which is our personal preference here, showing that you don't have any crimes of moral turpitude or anything that will stop you. Now, sometimes, we have clients, and this happens a lot, where it's almost like a retaliation, where they have maybe been arrested for domestic violence, where again, they were set up by their spouse, but they really never did anything. So with those, I usually have to evaluate it and understand the story so that we can explain that to them, that this was a setup, and stuff like that. Like I always tell my clients, whenever you're set up, try your best, if you can, not to take a plea, just because it makes it more complicated. If you're saying that you did that, and I know a lot of times most people go with a public defender and then they scare you and stuff like that. But fight for yourself, fight for your rights. If you know you didn't do that, then don't take that plea. I remember we had one client who was in that situation, and I was so happy that he didn't take that plea, and he was successful, and we got him his 10-year green card. So don't take the plea, if you know you didn't do that. Go to trial and prove yourself, okay? Let's see. And then, of course, the biggest one is that you have to show that you have a good faith marriage. So what I mean by that is that you can't just say, okay, I'm married, my spouse is abusive. You have to show that you really had a marriage that you intended to work. You guys really intended to have a life together, and any evidentiary proof you can show of your good faith marriage will basically help you, to get your approval. So that is how to get it by yourself. Like I mentioned, even though today's topic is about husband and wife, but the same thing applies, to parents. Well, obviously you don't need a good faith marriage, but if your child is doing these things to you, and they're over the age of 21 and they're U.S. citizens, you can qualify to get your green card yourself without your spouse, even if you entered into the country without your papers. If your parent is doing this to you, and you're under 21, you can also qualify. If you're 21 or over, but under 25, you just want to show that the delay in you applying is related to, the abuse they experienced, which is why it didn't happen. Okay, so let me take some questions. Let's see. You guys on Instagram today are honest with the questions. All right, let's see what you have here. I don't have my name on the lease. Can I file VAWA because she had a guy she called her cousin in the house, but it was actually her boyfriend? Texas Daddy, I can't tell you if you can file VAWA or not until I qualify you to see what else is going on. But generally, not having a lease does not disqualify you. So what they're usually looking at is, in totality, everything you have, does it prove a bona fide marriage? Some people have different reasons why they're not able to get a lease, or some people, they're living with, because maybe of their status, or they don't have a green card, not a green card, Social Security, they're not able to get a lease, and they're living with a family member and all of that stuff. So it just really depends. But that won't disqualify you. But because there are other steps to make sure that you qualify for VAWA, so it's always good to speak to somebody that understands the process, and they can go through and say, okay, you qualify to apply or not. Okay. Somebody says, Obi Rianka says on Instagram, how long after getting married before becoming a citizen? Well, after you get married, the first thing is that you have to file for a green card, if you don't have any status. And, you're filing for a green card It's very dependent on whether what your own status is here in the United States, and if your spouse is a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. If your spouse is a U.S. citizen, you can file for adjustment of status, and stay here. And once you do that, you get your green card. After you've had your green card for 3 years, if you're still with your spouse, then you can file for citizenship. If you're no longer with your spouse, you have to wait 5 years. So that's the way that one works. Somebody says, YouTube and Facebook, you guys are so quiet today. What's up? Somebody else on Instagram, Harrington, says, if you're a permanent resident, can you file for your spouse? So technically, you can file for your spouse. The requirements are different depending on your spouse's status. So if your spouse is currently here and she or he has not overstayed their visa, what I mean is that they entered into the country, the I-94 gives them 6 months and they're still here and they've been here for the 4th month, and a visa is currently available, which right now, as of the month of September and as of the month of October coming, they are currently available, then you can file an adjustment of status for your spouse. However, if your spouse is here and they've overstayed their time, you can't file an adjustment of status for them. What you can file for them instead is the I-130. When the I-130 gets approved, then you will need a hardship waiver showing the hardship. It will be on you if your spouse is not allowed to return back to the United States. If that's approved, then she or he'll be able to go do their consular processing in their consulate, do their interview there, and if they get approved, they will come back here. That is one option. Let me drink my water. The second option is, if you're eligible to be a U.S. citizen, you can become a U.S. citizen, and when you become a U.S. citizen, you can file for your spouse because, again, U.S. citizens are exempt from the visa waiting requirements. So if you're married to a U.S. citizen, even if your spouse overstayed their visa, they can adjust. If your spouse entered without inspection, they cannot adjust. So if your spouse entered without an inspection, they cannot adjust. If your spouse came here on a C1 crewman visa, they cannot adjust. I've seen people come here saying, oh, they were denied and blah, 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 blah. And whoever filed it for them never explained it to them. Like, yeah, it's because of how you came into the country. If you came in with a C visa, and for those of you who don't know what a C visa is, like a crewman visa, like you're coming to work on a cruise ship, or something like that. Like if you came in on that visa and you're like, oh, but I'm going to bust it and I'm going to marry a U.S. citizen, you can adjust. The only exception is if you qualify for VAWA, and then you can do it through VAWA. But if otherwise, you can't. Okay. So let's see what other questions I have. Hi, guys. I see so many new faces on Instagram. Where are you guys all tuning in from? Put that in a comment. Let me see. So Vanessa says, I came here in 2019. Do I pass for TPS? Well, what country are you from, Vanessa? So you got to let me know what country you're from, and then I will be able to tell you. So Tendy's Kitchen says, after finishing my J1, can I file for a work visa? What kind of work visa? Like an H-2B? Is that what you're trying to do? One of the things you want to check with your J1 is whether or not you have a 2-year home country residency requirement. A lot of J1 visa holders are required to go back to their home country for 2 years unless they get a no objection letter from their embassy saying it's fine, they can stay. So just confirm which one you have, okay? Okay, so YouTube and Facebook, you guys have decided to start asking questions. All right. Arhan says, is a second interview always a Stokes interview? And will they tell you if it's a Stokes interview on the interview notice? Yes, a second interview is always a Stokes interview. They don't need to tell you, but I am telling you, it is. You better get yourself ready. Ready, ready, ready. You need to know what color, down to what color your underwear your spouse was wearing, what street you live on, what's the cross street, what is, basically, you need to know everything about each other. A second interview is a Stokes interview, so you better be prepared, okay? Akin Remy says, hello, Ma. If someone missed notice from I-360 and you request it and it was sent to the wrong address, what can you do? Okay, so you missed like a notice was sent to the wrong address. Okay, So it's very difficult when you have if you have an I-360, I'm assuming you have a VAWA case, it's very difficult to do it on your own because there's no phone number for Vermont, so you're going to have to either send them a letter to do it. If you work with an attorney, so like, let's say you were working with me, usually we have an attorney hotline that we can use. Only attorneys can use that, and send them messages there. So, we'll be able to do that for you and see if they can reissue the notice. Okay. Garrick from Jamaica, thank you for tuning in. Kate says, hello, can my husband come here with a visitor's visa from Nigeria before I file for him? I'm a U.S. citizen. Yeah, if he wants, if he has a visa and he has one, or if the question you're asking is, can he get a visa? He can certainly try. It's not easy, but if he has things to show that he will come back to Nigeria, then he may be lucky and he may get a visa. But it's generally very hard if you don't really have anything tying you back to your home country to get a visiting visa these days. But he has nothing to lose in trying. Okay. Jennifer, as I said, can you please explain what a Stokes interview is? Okay. So a Stokes interview is essentially, usually it is a second interview when they feel that something is not adding up in your application, or they have been privy to some information that you may not know they've been privy to, or when they've gone through your history or your spouse's history, some things don't add up. Now, sometimes your first interview can be a Stokes interview. So never go into an interview thinking it's just going to be two of you. Every client of mine, no matter how long they've been married, no matter how many children they have together, no matter how much they have, I always prepare my clients for a Stokes interview, because your interview prep is critical to how you go and you perform there. And the reason why I say this is because even people who have been married for a long time, I have been married for 11 years, been with my spouse for 13 years. There are many things that even in the interview questions that I ask my clients, I don't know the answer to. And I'm sure he doesn't know the answer to, like I'm horrible with directions. For example, if you ask me what the cross street is from my house, I can't tell you. I know it, but I don't know what it's called. If you ask me what color my husband, okay, I know what color his toothbrush is because we use the same exact toothbrush. But if you ask me what boxes he was wearing today, I don't know, but a Stokes interview is where they really want to know, how intimately you guys know each other. So they will get into questions that only people who know each other and live together will truly know the answer. Like sometimes they could ask you, well, what color, how many TVs do you have in the house? What color is your bed sheet today? What color is your blanket? What time did your husband wake up today? What car did you guys drive here? State your address for me, and so, for a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, or what was the last big purchase you guys had? What did your spouse give you for Christmas? During the Stokes interview, they separate the two of you. So and it's usually very hostile, for lack of a better word. So you're not going to get any warm and fuzzies. It's let's get into the details. Okay. So they separate you, they ask you the questions, and then the same questions they go ask your spouse. A lot of times it's recorded. They record it. And sometimes you have two people, two officers asking you the questions. And so, once you have that, once they have that, then they go over and compare your answers. And depending on your answers and what is satisfactory to them, they will then either send you a notice of intent to deny or it will be satisfactory to them. Sometimes they will put so much pressure on the U.S. citizen where they will say, you have a sham marriage. If you don't sign these papers, you're going to be locked up for 5 years. You're going to pay this crime. I have had people in legitimate marriages that were so scared, and they signed it. And then both of them came to me saying, I'm like, why? Why did you sign it if you know you had a legitimate marriage? But that is them trying to ruffle you. So, if you have a second interview, you definitely want to prepare yourself. for it, because it means it's not going to be warm and fuzzy. Okay. Somebody says, hey, when you get a divorce while filing for VAWA, does it jeopardize your case? Absolutely not. Like, it's actually expected. If you're submitting a VAWA petition saying that you're in an abusive marriage, they expect you to leave your spouse. As a matter of fact, many states will not give you the benefits of the prima facie. Like, when you get a prima facie, one of the benefits is that you get public assistance if you need it. But a lot of them won't give you public assistance if you're still living with your abuser. So, that's definitely a requirement. Okay, so let's see. Good morning, Colleen. Good morning. She says she's checking in from Florida. Oh, you're in my city. Hey, Nadine Fisher. Good morning, Boo. Okay, what about if you're married to a U.S. citizen and they move out on you while your green card is pending? So the first question is, so when you say they move out on you, are you guys still in a relationship? Are you guys just going through a tough time and you think that your relationship is going to work? Or is your spouse potentially an abusive spouse? Or is your spouse potentially someone that's extremely cruel to you? So those are things that I have to qualify you. You can definitely schedule a consultation. My number is 407-995-6567, so that we can determine whether or not you can potentially file a VAWA petition. If you can potentially file a VAWA petition, we can reach out to USCIS and change the petition that you're submitting, just to see if we can capture the fees and the 485 that you already submitted. Now, having said that, this is discretionary, meaning the officer doesn't have to agree to it, but we certainly always try to ask to help our clients either, save the money or maintain their work permit. So the strategy I take is very different depending on the stage you are in that process. And so I would need, a consultation with the person to determine what we need to do. Chan says, what date are they processing for VAWA cases? I applied July 2019 and no update yet. You can find that out yourself. You can go to the USCIS processing timeline. Just do a Google search for that and type in I-360 and then put in your center, which should be Vermont, and then scroll down, look for VAWA, and it will tell you what date they're processing. Okay. Okay, let's see what else I have here. Good morning, Sylvie. So somebody on Instagram says, if you have a stubborn spouse that took a loan from the bank without telling you and keeps on getting money from you without caring whether you're working or not, Funky, definitely call me. You may qualify for VAWA, but I need to speak to you and go over all the requirements to make sure. Again, my number is 407-995-6567. Good morning, Stephanie. From New York. New York will always have my heart. That is my hometown. Funky is from Texas. Thanks for tuning in. Obioma from Tampa. Hey, Obioma, what's up? Vanessa from Ghana. Thanks for tuning in. I have a sibling who filed an I-30 petition for me in 2012, but I'm here. Can I be eligible for the budget reconciliation? Well, so, and I saw a lot of comments about there, a lot of questions. So let me first start by saying this. The budget reconciliation is not law yet. It's just a bill that has been introduced and has, been voted in Congress. So guys, before a law can be passed, it has to go through all house, meaning it needs to go through the Senate. And a lot of times when things move from one location to the other, you are going to find dissecting, meaning they're going to pull out different pieces to decide what works for both sides of the party and whoever is willing to vote in the majority. So we don't know what will pass. That being said, the whole idea, and I lost my sheet, I had a sheet here with it because it's still a bit fuzzy, and I'm not one of those that likes to give guesswork. I like to give you guys facts as they come out. So I don't remember the timeline right now, but generally the idea is that if you're a U.S. citizen, or your U.S. citizen filed for you and your priority date is more than 2 years out, you have the opportunity to pay a fee, which I don't know why my brain is fuzzy right now. Is it 2,500 or 1,500? Like an additional 2,500 or 1,500 in addition to the other fee. I don't remember. So do not quote me on this, guys, until I get the correct information, and I will tell you tomorrow. Well, no, tomorrow is Saturday. I'll tell you on Monday. Whatever. Basically, you would have to pay that extra. And they will allow you to adjust your status here. So obviously that's why it's a big deal, but it's only for those that a U.S. citizen is petitioning for. So they've not really said anything about, say, green card holders who are petitioning, like for their children that are over 21, and stuff like that. So we don't really know what's going to happen there. So that's for you, you may fall in that category. And then if you're a U.S. citizen filing for your child that's over 21, you will fall in that category. And if you're a U.S. citizen filing for your child who is married, you'll fall in that category. I just don't remember the number amount, but you would qualify if this bill passes, but it is not law yet. But as I always say, until we know what the law is, definitely prepare yourself, definitely prepare your documentation, get yourself together so that if it passes, you can, take advantage of it, immediately. And then for the other people will be more of the DACA and the TPS and those who came here under the age of 18. Basically they feel like you came here and it wasn't your fault that you came here, and you may not qualify for DACA because you came after 2012. So those people too are going to have a path to a green card. So we're just waiting. If you watch my video on September 12th, I actually talked about it because I was reading it on the script. So I just don't remember everything. Okay, so this person says, I came in 2019 from Ghana. Do I pass for TPS? Unfortunately, you don't. TPS is temporary protected status. It's for designated countries. You can actually go on USCIS temporary protected status website and you will see the list of countries. There are too many for me to list, but Ghana is not one of them. Dental says, thank you. I'm really learning a lot from your live videos. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you guys are learning a lot. I just realized that there's a lot of, ignorance in terms of how the immigration process works, or people truly don't know. Based on my consultations and some of the people that I speak to, like they really don't know. And it's painful when people come to me and it's too late. I have people that come to me and it's too late. My hands are tied, like they've made a grave mistake. They have a marriage sham. They just, there's nothing else to do. So, this is my way of giving back to you guys, giving you guys information. Whether you hire me or not, that's on you. But, at least you know what the rules are. Okay. Somebody says, Amatal says, good morning. If the bill passes, those that came with a B2 visa and are over 18, are they going to benefit from the pathway to citizenship? At this point, no. At this point, no. Unless you fall under one of those categories I mentioned, meaning that you have a U.S. citizen that is already filing for you. So if you came here and you have a parent that's a U.S. citizen that's already filing for you, or a sibling that's already filing for you, you could benefit from it if it passes. But again, this is not the final of the rule, so we'll see what they do. Oh my goodness, guys, I gotta jump off. I just realized what time it was. I have a meeting. All right, guys, I will talk to you on Monday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. If I didn't answer your question, come back on Monday and I'll try to get it answered. Okay. All right, guys, bye.